When Eragon's eyes opened, the memory of Garrow's death crashed down on him. Book 1, Eragon, Chapter 15, Saddlemaking, and Chapter 16, Therinsford. Welcome to Eragon and Back Again, a podcast where we explore Christopher Paolini's inheritance cycle one chapter at a time. I'm Lucy Hart.
And I'm Darien Smartt.
And we are back once again
to
tackle a kind of chapter where nothing really happens again.
Apologies to our listeners for briefly going bi-weekly.
Yes.
We assure you that is not a regular intent. Things have happened.
Life got crazy.
Life finds a way,
yes.
One might say. But yes, we're back. We are going to be recording, multiple back-to-back episodes in a row. You don't need to know how many. Guess! But yes, but first, sparks of inspiration.
Sparks of inspiration. You know, I think I had one and then I lost it, unfortunately. Let me see if I can remember it.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, go ahead.
My spark of inspiration is that I went to my very first Pride Festival, where we're at, obviously in the U.S., June is Pride Month, but for a plethora of reasons, where we're at, our Pride Festival is celebrated in September. So I just got to go, and I got to go with my girlfriend.
Yay!
And it was very wonderful, and I just enjoyed my time immensely, and got to see some incredible drag performances, and got to just talk to a lot of cool people, and hang out with a lot of her friends, and just have really great conversations. And just the inspiration is wanting to celebrate this community I'm a part of and tell stories that reflect the joy of 100%. The community.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's mine. Just wanting to tell stories and celebrate
all that.
The thing that make the stories that I didn't have when I was a kid and not fully aware of my own identity, because what I experienced, I didn't see in stories, and the queer narratives I saw did not reflect mine. So I just thought I wasn't.
Yep.
I very much am.
Yep. No, I agree, because just like a little bit of my experience when I went last year, like that was something that struck me when I went last year, was just the joy that was there, and like people being themselves and not afraid to be themselves. And that was just, for me, it was so awesome to be there. So definitely resonate with you there. Like that's 100% the vibe. And I'm like, yes, that's also something that I want to portray as well. So definitely understand. As far as my inspiration go, I think I'm just going to go with, like, the books I just finished. I think I talked about that in our last episode, the Hunter books. So, like, the Hunter book's really great. Plot is wonderful, but I think the inspiration I'm going to go to is the inspiration of the read something and be like, I'm not going to do that. And so it really did show me, like, again, the books are really amazing, and I do recommend them if anyone like wants to read them. Go ahead and do that. But a lot of what the author does is explaining the world and how things work rather than showing. And it was such a stark difference from Eragon, with us being shown everything rather than being told everything, because the Eragon book is really immersive, and in the Hunter books it really felt like I was it was almost like I was reading or listening to a manual at some points, because I was like, this is how the world works, and this is the da-da-da-da, and I kept thinking about ways of how I would show that, not tell that.
That's very good.
So I think, like, that's my inspiration of just, like, again, really enjoyed the books. It did make me the ending of the book made me super like, oh my god, it's so cool and amazing, it's such a good ending. And so I did really like it. It was just a bit of a slog for me. Like, I don't know if I could have made it through if I was reading it, kind of thing. But I do really like them. And the narrator did a really good job. She was great.
That's always good.
Yep.
All right, in that case, let's get into it. And
yes,
I wrote the chapter summaries.
Yay!
I remember. I wrote them today while I was getting my oil changed.
Oh, very good.
Time.
Yep.
So, all right, first chapter, chapter 15, Saddlemaking. Brom makes a saddle.
Yeah.
That's all I have to. I aggressively hate this chapter.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I do like about this chapter is we kind of get, because, like, from what we know of Brom, he's a storyteller, and then he's kind of, like, frustratingly mysterious. And in this one, you get the fact that Brom's a little bit shady as well, not just mysterious, because it's like, kind of in the middle-ish, endish of the chapter, Eragon thought it over. All right, he grumbled. This is like buying horses. And then we'll get horses, but you have to buy them. I don't have any money and I don't want to steal again. It's wrong. And Brom responds with, that depends on your point of view.
Listen, I agree with Brom on that point.
I do. It just, for me, it was like, because then he does do a really good explanation of like, the Razak are the king's servants, and they can and will do anything and can get away with anything. Like higher ups in the cities, they can do a lot of shit in cities and not get hit for it. So it's like, oh yeah, laws do not stop them. So it's like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. But for me, I was like, hey, Brom, like,
yeah,
what have you done in your life?
Yeah, there's this is just more and more of the Brom is not. Obviously not the storyteller he pretended to be, nor is he anything Eragon could guess accordingly. Mm-hmm. He knows how to make a saddle for a dragon. And no amount of reading and study teaches you that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it is really a big shock because he's like, dragons had 2 saddles, and that's like, okay, that is something that he would know. And he goes, better yet, I can make one. And you're like, what? Yeah. Like, that is a bit of a shock because it's like, again, going with the who the hell is this guy? Mm-hmm. And just how, and like going back to your point, how do you know how to make one?
Yeah. Like, my problem with this chapter isn't how it demonstrates that Brom is shady. It does do good Brom characterizing, and I appreciate that. My problem with this chapter is that it gets into some high fantasy tropes that I don't care for. Specifically, being hyper-specific and detailed in describing some sort of process of creating a textile. Mm-hmm. I don't need 2.5 pages of it describing how Brom sliced out the pieces and used cords to sew everything together. But for each stitch, 2 holes had to be bored through the leather, and intricate knots rigged in place of buckles, and I just didn't need that. I could have had Eragon watched as Brom put together the saddle and just, I don't know. And also, I think what also annoys me is that it's its own chapter. Like, mm-hmm. That's what really annoys me about this. I wouldn't mind so much the description of the saddlemaking if it wasn't its own chapter. Yeah. Like, trying to make it so important. Like, that's what's getting me here. Mm-hmm. Because the last 2, okay, that first one that was like, this was too short, didn't need to be its own chapter. It was still trying to be its own chapter to the tension of the moment. Oh, the egg hatching. And then the last one was the madness of life. Yep. That grief. And that makes sense. Yep. That should be its own chapter. This was some nonsense, Paulini. I don't.
Yeah, because I think it's world building in a sense because it does show like how there's a lot of effort that goes into these saddles. Yeah. And that is world building and that is realistic. Mm-hmm. But I also go with I'm like I remember reading this like as a kid and like taking the place of stirrups that were a series of loops running down both bands. Tightened, they would hold Eragon's leg in place. And as a kid, I could not fathom what that looked like. I couldn't. And I'm like, now I can. It's a thin strip like this, and they loop around to hold his legs in place. And so I'm like, I get it. I can see it now. But it literally took me how many years in order to get to the point where I'm like, okay, now I can see it. So it's so intricate, and especially like if this is a young adult, kind of that gray area, like it's so intricate that it could be lost on younger readers that they just don't understand or they kind of zone out. Not saying everyone's different, but it is like it's just so detailed packed that it can get lost.
Yeah. I think it is trying to like describe something that like you've literally never seen before. Yeah. You've never seen a dragon, you've never seen a saddle on a dragon. Yep. And also trying to it's like, oh, well, how do you fly a Pegasus? Yeah. Like wild, right? So it's like doing that where it's but trying to make it like how would this work practically in real life and trying to it's the thing when we talk about like Saphira's like physical presence making this fantastical creature feel so tactile and real. Yep. But it does it in a way that I don't like. Yeah. This I just don't appreciate. That's really all I have to say about this chapter.
And then the only other thing that I did want to bring attention to, because we talked about it a little bit, is he does talk more about the Razak. Mm-hmm. So we get a little bit more about the Razak and just like how the longer you evade the Razak, the more desperate he'll become, and just like the king's relationship with the Razak, and again highlighting the fact that Eragon, you are not safe. Yeah, for real. So I think that's a couple of things I wanted to point out. But I also like this. I just realized I highlighted this. It does show Eragon's unwillingness to fly again because he's scared because he doesn't want to hurt himself again. And I think that is also real and important as well.
Yes, that like he is. Yeah, that's true. That is a good point because he's like, oh, Saphira's like, do you want to try it out? He's like, maybe later.
He's like, not now. Yeah,
Not
and he's
right
also
now.
still healing because it's like they're cracking and stuff.
Yeah, he's
and,
still hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's all I can pull out of that.
All right, then we move on to. Because this doesn't need to be a 12-minute episode, we move to our next chapter, Therinsford.
Yep.
Brom delivers some dragon lore as the party begins the journey in earnest. Brom begins training Eragon in the way of the sword, with questionable methods that will be as effective because it's a fantasy book. Arriving at Therinsford, Eragon and Brom acquire horses, and Eragon discovers that he can use the same skill he developed communicating with Saphira to reach out to other creatures. Brom gathers information about the Razak before they continue their way. In the evening, Brom begins another totally wise and effective round of sword training. Dear listener, you may perhaps guess my feelings about this particular fantasy trope we are encountering, i.e. the sword training. I don't like it. I don't like it. But anyway.
I feel you.
Okay, so the way Brom trains him the sword is like, he just throws a stick at Eragon and across the fire. He's like, defend yourself! And Eragon's like, I'm not doing this. So Brom like, bap, 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 and like disarms him. It's like, fine. So Eragon goes at him and Brom like, bap, 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 and disarms him because he's better at sword fighting.
Well, at first Eragon is like, oh, I'm gonna fucking
Hold
kick
back.
your ass, old man. And then he doesn't, and then he goes like, okay, well, fine. And then gets his ass kicked.
Yeah. And Eragon's like covered in bruises and really beat up and sore
Really
from
beat
it.
up.
And Brom's like, oh, well, you know, it like literally at one point they're fighting so hard. His arm moved in a blur, and there was an explosion of pain on the side of Eragon's head. He collapsed like an empty sack, dazed. A splash of cold water roused him to alertness, and he sat up, sputtering. His head was ringing, and there was dried blood on his face. Brom stood over him with a pan of melted snow water. You didn't have to do that, Eragon said angrily, pushing himself up. He felt dizzy and unsteady. Brom arched an eyebrow. Oh, a real enemy wouldn't soften his blows, and neither will I. Should I pander to your incompetence so you'll feel better? I don't think so. This isn't how you train a new skill.
Yeah.
You don't walk into like a taekwondo class and then the sensei, the master, just kicks your ass. Like that's, I mean, maybe if you roll up and be like, oh, I've seen Karate Kid, I know, then maybe the sensei kicks your ass.
Yeah.
But like, this is not how you effectively develop a skill.
Yep.
And maybe, dear listener, if this was just the first time for Brom to really be like, Eragon, I'm better at this than you. You would need to know this because you don't know anything and you're going to take this seriously. And then later training had more like him being like, okay, this is how. I would be like, okay, fine. This was our crash course starter lesson 1. And now we're. But no, at the end of the chapter, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I just. Yeah, no. It's just, it feels very like. Vaguely like macho-esque, learned through suffering. And I'm like, this is not how you develop any skill.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get good at rock climbing by like free soloing your way up a mountain and dying if you fall. Like, you start with the basics. You learn that Eragon is not going to learn any technique or skill or form by this. He's not going to do it. This is not how you develop a skill in anything.
Yep. And it's only like, because they do like, Brom kind of goes at him, and then he goes at him, and then he basically kicks his ass. And I do think like an important skill that he does is like Eragon he's like, forget it, I've had enough, and he turns around and walks away. And Brom like smacks him on the back, and he's like, don't turn your back on an enemy. I'm like, that's a good point.
That I liked. I like that. Like, there were moments where I'm like, yes, that works.
Yeah. But it's like, I think you made a really good point there. Is like, there are moments where you're like, okay, yes. But then there are like moments where it's, because like Brom like hit him so hard. He
gave
blood.
him a concussion.
Yeah,
like,
it was
Eragon
like,
collapsed. The boy has traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, and it's like, he even said like, what is it? When he straps near the beginning of the chapter, when he straps, Eragon carefully tied Zarok onto her back too, as he did not want the extra weight. Besides, in his hands, the sword would be no better than a club. he does have no sword skills.
Yeah.
And Brom is like merciless. And I think like that could also be a point, like that could be a point made in Brom, is like he knows that Eragon has no sword skills and he needs to pick that up very quickly. But it's also like the fastest way he can think about that is to, I mean, that could be, you could say that again, that could be an argument, because it's like knowing, like Eragon knowing that Brom will not hold back might force Eragon into trying to, like, how do I block? How do I attack back just as hard? Because I don't want to get hit because that fucking hurts, kind of thing. And it's like that. There's like arguments there, but it is very vicious.
It's. I'm not even that it's like vicious is the problem. I just have like, it just doesn't seem long term. Like the only way Eragon will know how to fight is he just won't learn skill, technique, form, and those are the things you develop to learn strategy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like in Percy Jackson, like sometimes when Percy's fighting, Rick Riordan will like describe certain movements and arcs that Percy does, and it's not just slash violent, it's like a move he knows and learned.
Yeah.
Now usually Riordan describes it because Percy is fighting Luke, and Luke taught him how to fight, so as he mentions that he does this because Luke's the one that taught him and can very easily disarm him from it, but it still demonstrates how knowing the technique behind a thing isn't just like the proper form, but like knowing what the weapon is actually capable of and what you are capable of while you have it, rather than just like flailing blind. I don't know. I think it, like I said, if this was just the first session to make Eragon get serious about it, bet. But it's literally the Brom's like only technique for training, and I'm like, I don't know, my guy. Also, they're like, oh, should I hold back because of your incompetence?
It's like, yeah, he is incompetent.
That's a very specific word choice you pick to describe someone who has never been taught how to use a sword.
Is a farm boy.
Like, I don't think, I'm like, and I think that goes back to like, Brom just feels like he's constantly antagonizing Eragon.
Oh, 100%.
Like, constantly just antagonizing and belittling him, and I just don't love it. It makes me mad. I don't care for Brom at this moment. I'm like, why? Like, incompetence, you could have picked novice.
Yeah.
Or clumsiness, or break out a thesaurus, storyteller man, and pick a different word.
Yeah.
Because you're just kind of being a jerk.
He's antagonizing too. And then again, just kind of arguing on Brom's side.
Please.
There is a moment where they're fighting, where Eragon trying to retreat, and they're going around the fire, and Brom shouts, "Pull your arms in, keep your knees bent." And then continues to give instructions, then pause to show Eragon exactly how to execute a certain move.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
Do
it again, but this time slowly. They slid through the forms with exaggerated motions before returning to their furious battle. Eragon learned quickly, but no matter what he tried, he could not hold Brom off for more than a few blows.
Okay, I completely missed that passage.
Oh no!
I think I was just like, I just get through this. I'm so annoyed.
Yeah.
And I absolutely missed that. That's exactly what I was saying I wanted. Like, fine, make him take it seriously, but actually show. And he is. All right, bet, fine. But also, Pearl would never, when training Connie in Steven Universe, this is not to do it for her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. And it's and I think, like, that's thing, because it's like Brom is just comes at Eragon so hard, and I think it is a bit like, whoa, like, what the hell, dude? But then, like, again, like, he does never turn your back on an enemy, and then pull your arms in, keep your knees bent, and he's still coming at him in the harsh way, because he's not like, okay, stop, you need to make sure to pull your arms in, keep your knees bent, loosen up. He's shouting it while they're going at it.
Okay.
So he's still coming at him very strong. And then that was like when
the machismo of it.
Yeah. When they finished, Eragon flopped on his blankets and groaned. He hurt everywhere. Brom had not been gentle with his stick. And then I like Saphira laughing at him.
Yeah, that's
charming. Very good. I like Saphira just like continuing to come up with like the very snappy, like just showing her personality of being this like sassy blue dragon. I'm here for it.
Oh, and it's funny because like Eragon, when she makes the sound, she let out a long coughing growl and curled her lip until a formidable row of teeth showed. "What's wrong with you?" he demanded irritably. "Nothing," she replied. "It's just funny to see a hatchling like you beaten by the old one." She made the sound again, and Eragon turned red as he realized that she was laughing.
Yep.
That's delightful. Like, oh my god, dragons laugh. Dragons laugh. It's so funny.
She's like, it's just really funny to see an old guy kick your ass. And she's like, shut up.
Yeah. Speaking of dragons, I did jump ahead because I just needed to get out my annoyance of this sort of stuff. But we get a whole ass lore dump.
Yeah, we do.
And it's so funny how it works. Because Eragon asks, so what exactly can dragons do? You said that you knew something of their abilities. And Brom goes off on like, oh, dragons are mysterious, though maybe not on purpose. But before I can truly answer your question, you need a basic education on the subject of dragons. It's hopelessly confusing to start in the middle of such a complex topic without understanding the foundation on which it stands. I'll begin with the life cycle of dragons. And my note is, this is just an excuse to do dragon lore.
Yeah.
Like, it's not answering. It's like, literally, it's like, this is how dragons lay their eggs. And they don't hatch right away and formed alliance with the elves. And it's literally just to give us this, like, backstory about, like,
the dragon.
Like, or specifically, like, why Saphira hatched for Eragon.
Yeah.
Like, and it kind of demonstrates that it's not a coincidence that she hatched. Like, it wasn't just, oh, timing happened to be like,
yeah.
Dragons essentially control when they are ready to hatch.
Yep.
And she hatched for Eragon.
Yep.
Which is great. And I actually do think that's a good way to do it. I just think the simple of like, we can't just start in the middle. I need to tell you about dragon life cycle.
Yeah.
I just think that's very funny.
Yeah, it's very... I really like it because I'm like, it honestly makes sense is like these dragons of being this like mysterious like beings. And it's like, oh yeah, like it would make... My brain is like, oh yeah, it makes sense that their eggs... like the hatchling in the eggs, or I guess they wouldn't be hatchlings at that point, but they would be in the eggs and like have like a vague understanding of the world around him.
Yeah.
To like be like, oh, now's not the time to hatch. Like, especially when they were in the wild, is like there's not enough food around. I'm just gonna kind of hold up and wait a bit. And that also kind of gives a little bit of like how Saphira found as a not an adult dragon, but grown, how she was able to find the clearing again when she flew back, because Eragon was like, I don't know how she knew about this place, and it's like it's because Saphira
there's
had
a level of awareness
of what's around her.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that bit of the lore making it so like dragons, well, the eggs that were given to writers aren't just, oh, well, you're just assigned to a writer. It's like, no, you have to be picked by one. A dragon picks you, and I think that's a really interesting power dynamic.
And I do like how he says like people would line up to touch an egg in the hopes that it would hatch. Like, I do really like that.
Which is so interesting, because it implies that some eggs would hatch immediately, and Saphira's definitely didn't.
Yeah.
Which I would say, like, actually is explained by the fact that she wasn't sure if she was safe yet.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think I think in the situation that Brom explains is like the eggs would feel safe because in that time they were. Yeah. And so, and it's also like, if we think about it, Saphira just came out of like, if she's aware, she probably experienced the elf woman's terror and all of that happened. So yeah, she probably didn't feel safe at all until Eragon.
Yeah. So I like that. Eragon also asks who was the writer that owned Zarok. A mighty warrior, said Brom, who's much feared in his time and held great power. What was his name? I'll not say. I don't want to keep you arrogant, far from it, but certain knowledge will only prove to... You don't want to keep him ignorant, huh? Is that it, Brom? Is that what you're saying, Brom? Really? Really? And where are you from, Brom? How do you know this, Brom? What's your deal, Brom? So I'm over it.
Yeah.
We're 165 pages into the book in my edition, and I'm over it.
Yeah. I do like the fact that he goes, like, knowing what I know of the books, of everything, it's like, would only prove dangerous and distracting for you right now. And I'm like, you sure you don't want to explain?
Is that it?
Bro?
Is that actually
All right. I'm going to highlight that in purple.
But they end up in Therinsford, where they just get some horses?
Yep, they buy some horses. And it's like...
Brom's really... Sorry, go on, Luce.
No, I was going to say, like, before they get in there, they get robbed, quote, robbed at the bridge. And this is something that I thought was really interesting, because, like, I listened to it first, and then I go back through and highlight. And it's Eragon's like, why didn't you haggle? He skinned you alive. He probably doesn't even own the bridge. We could have pushed right by them. And Brom's like, probably. And he goes, and why pay him? And Brom goes, because you can't argue with all the fools in the world. It's easier to let them have their way than trick them when they're not paying attention. Brom opened his hand, and a pile of coins glinted in the light. In the audiobook, Eragon says, "You cut his purse," Eragon exclaimed. "In the book, it says you stole those."
I have "you cut his purse."
Yeah, in this book, it's "you stole those."
I wonder what... Does it say what edition yours is?
I can take a look, but it was really interesting.
I have... My edition is from October 2006, I think, because I have one of the book editions, or the movie edition.
I'm seeing 2000 copyright at 2002.
Yeah, look.
2003.
Yeah, see if there's bottom of that page.
2005. First trade paperback edition, April 2005.
Okay, go to the very bottom, underneath the Random House teens and then the ISBN numbers. Does it say date there?
Here, I'm gonna just...
Interesting. I wonder if mine is a later edition?
I think so, because I feel like I don't know. I like "you cut his purse" better than "you stole those."
Yeah, because it's... I don't know. It language-wise, it just sounds
Yeah.
nicer, but I also think it's more accurate to what Eragon would have been saying, which isn't accusing him of stealing, but like realizing what he had done, which is you got that. You did something.
You cut his purse.
Yeah.
And again, that kind of like another mark goes into Brom being shady area, because Brom is like, that was some pretty good, like, talking D&D terms, that was a pretty good sleight of hand,
That was
dude.
a great sleight of hand roll.
But yeah, I like that. And then they go into town to buy horses, and I'm like, Snowfire? You mean Shadowfax?
There it is. Yeah, and it's like this guy's prized horse.
Yep.
He's like loves it so much. He's like, no, I'm not gonna sell this horse. Like my intent is to like sire him out like this. And Brom is just so insistent. He has to have this
that horse. Yep. And I do like that he goes, what would you, like, if I were to buy Snowfire, what, how much would you do? And the guy's like, 200. And Brom's like, all right, here's 200. And the guy's like, well, shit.
I did not think he would say yes.
Yeah.
All right, fine. But then Brom says, the guy's like, he's yours, though I go against my heart. I will treat him as if he were sired by Gildentor, the greatest steed of legend. Yeah, that's some goofy fantasy world nonsense that I actually do love.
Yeah, and I think that does help I'm pretty sure there's a word to describe someone who sells and breeds and raises horses, but it's not coming to my brain right now. But I think it does, Haberth is his name. I think it does, like, help him be like, okay, like, this guy's
He says, yes, your words gladden me.
Yeah, he's like, you're gonna treat Snowfire.
You know horses, then, if you know about the name of the steed of legend. So, okay. And you also just gave me 200 coins, so, like, it'd be stupid of me not to sell you this horse.
Yep, absolutely. Because I think, like, if Brom had come in, like, boasting about wanting the strongest horse or, like, being an asshole about it, I'm pretty sure he could have gone from 500. Been like, no. I think, like, even if he's like, 200, he's like, no, I changed my mind. Absolutely not. Like, he just wouldn't have done it. Yeah.
Yeah. I do. I don't, it's just that I think it's also, like, another, like, Brom's kind of weird.
Oh, 100%.
Because you don't need... I mean, because Eragon just gets a good horse. He has a good mare. Yeah, if Snowfire is way faster than the mare, it doesn't really matter, Brom.
Yeah.
Like, you can't leave Eragon behind, so, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Hey, Brom? True. Hey, Brom? Why did you need the horse, Brom?
It was a really pretty horse, and you wanted it.
We got some cool geography.
We do.
Mm-hmm. They have, as they're traveling out, they leave Therinsford, and they find... on the base of a mountain. You got something?
Yeah, no, so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was like, so before they do that, sorry, I got really excited.
Yeah.
This frustrated me in this chapter.
Oh, yeah?
So Eragon gazed doubtfully at the bay. It was so much smaller than Saphira that for an absurd moment he wondered if it could bear his weight. Eragon, you've been on a horse before. Like, oh my god, that was so infuriating. And then it's like, with a sigh, he awkwardly got into the saddle. He had only ridden... Yeah, then it explains it. He had only ridden horses bareback and never for any distance. This isn't going to do the same thing to my legs as riding Saphira, he asked. Why would riding a horse do the same thing as riding a dragon?
I think the thing is, like, he knows, like, he does acknowledge that it's absurd for him to have this thought. I think it's him getting so used to being around Saphira, and that he's like, but it's so... I also think that's just, like, signaling to us that, like, horses are big.
Yeah.
Horses are big. If you've never actually been around a horse in person, let me tell you, horses are big. And it's just kind of also being like, Saphira's very big, and being around her is kind of like skewed Eragon's perception of other creatures.
Yeah.
But also it's like, oh, you're on a farm, you've been on horses before, but like not a lot. And it sounds like maybe they didn't actually have a horse at the farm.
Yeah, no, I don't think
they probably had a mule.
Yeah, probably
for plowing and stuff. But like, yeah, maybe they knew Eragon rode a horse briefly because someone had a horse, and they're like, oh, hop on, like in the village at some point in time when he was younger.
Yeah.
So I think that like also him being like, this isn't gonna do to my legs what Saphira did, is like kind of charming, because it's like Eragon's 15.
Yeah,
it's also reminding
true.
us of like his age and his like naivete, where it's like, you've been thrust into this world of dragon and magic.
Yep.
And you're a little nervous about riding horse.
Yep. I agree.
I also recognize I was like, you've been on a horse.
I was just like,
Eragon.
you've been on a horse, like, and he's been on a horse bareback. I'm like, a horse would not, like, I guess he's on a saddle, so I guess that would institute some worry. But I'm just like, I don't buy it, Eragon.
It is ridiculous.
Like,
Eragon, what is your deal?
I was like, no way.
It is rather silly.
Yep. Anyway, but yeah, continue with Utgard.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you know how to say these things. The last thing I want to talk about is just like they ride past, it's like a crumbling tower.
Oh, yes.
In disrepair, but it was still a stern sentinel over the valley. And Eragon's like, what is that? And Brom doesn't look up, but he says sadly and with bitterness, an outpost of the riders. One that has lasted since their founding. So it's actually, it also just happens to be, that was where Varel took refuge, and where, through treachery, he was found and defeated by Galbatorix. When Varel fell, this area was tainted. Yeah, I mean, wow, how convenient that not only is there's this, like, rider outpost so close to where Eragon lives, but it's the exact same one where the last leader of the Dragon Riders was defeated and the riders fell.
Yep.
I actually, I didn't mind just having, like, the outpost there, because I think it's cool to see, like, there were still remnants of the riders that used to spread across the continent.
Absolutely.
But it's when it's like, this was that place.
Yep.
This was Mustafar. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I really like that, because it almost, like, again, Eragon reacts with awe, because he's like, that, how close it was. Like what you said, it's so close.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, the thing is, like, it's so close. It's only a few days from where he lives.
Yep.
And he had no idea there was, that this outpost was nearby, and this, like, really important piece of history was nearby, which, like, actually, now that we're discussing it, kind of just illustrates how it's been crushed.
Yep.
How, like, they don't tell stories of it anymore.
Yep.
Like, the only person telling stories of the writers is probably Brom.
Yep.
But it's not being, like, taught in any way as, like, historical or important. Like, it's pure fantasy, even though here is literally a physical, tangible structure that is the, like, mark of the fall of the writers and the start of Galbatorix's reign.
Yep. Absolutely.
And Eragon had no idea. It's like if you lived in Maryland and you had no idea Washington, D.C. was that close.
Yep.
Which, okay, I guess that's not quite. Maybe if you had no idea that the Washington Monument specifically was that close.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I think, like, it's because we've talked about Eragon not really understanding the weight of what has fallen on him. And I think this is a really good reminder, because it's like a legacy of tradition and heroism that stretched back to antiquity had fallen upon him. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, this is another one of those moments where he realizes just how deep he is, and, like, what came before him, and now what he will continue onward.
Yeah. So. I think I do like how that's a cool moment. The idea that, like, we're introduced to the idea that, like, writers had outposts.
Yep.
They were ancient, and that doubles as, like, world building, and then doubles for Eragon becoming, like, fully more grasping what he is actually.
Absolutely.
Like, he right now just wants to avenge his uncle and kill the Razak. And it's like, but it does serve to remind us as a reader, and kind of Eragon a little, that, like, you will be more than that. Mm-hmm. There is more than that. Like, you don't get to just return to Baloncar Valley and your farm after this, Eragon. No matter how hard you want to. Like, when they leave, he thinks, like, I will return. Like, this is not the end of it. And it's like, yeah, maybe. But you don't get to just go back to being Eragon, the farm boy outside of Carvajal. Like, that's over.
Yep. You've changed so much.
Already, yeah. And there are things that will continue to change you. And I think you're right. That is a good way to demonstrate the legacy that will shape his future.
Yep, absolutely.
And then they sword fight again.
Yep. What I really like, so like as we're coming up to that, is I related to Eragon with this, is when Eragon sees the plains for the first time.
Ooh, hold on. That's the next chapter.
No, is it for
Yeah.
you? Because for me, it's the same chapter.
The plains?
Yeah, well, it's a legacy of tradition. They traveled for long hours to Utgard. Then, with the sun low behind their backs, they mounted a rise and saw over the trees. That's the same chapter.
Oh, I have... Well, Thunder... Because I thought about... Yeah, you're right. Because I read this chapter before we recorded the last episode, so I skimmed over it. Thunder Roll and Lightning Crackle is when he really thinks about the plains.
Yeah, this is like the first time. Yeah, it's like Eragon gasped on either side were mountains, but below them stretched a huge plain that extended to the distant horizon and fused into the sky. The plain was a uniform tan, like the color of dead grass. Long wispy clouds swept by overhead, shaped by fierce winds. And for me, it was like, I 100% get that, because we are in a valley. Like, we grew up with mountains, and my family did a road trip like years ago, and we hit a plain, and I was like, this is so weird.
It's so flat.
Like, it's so flat. Like, this is so weird. So it's like, I totally understood Eragon's, like, holy cow, when he went over that ridge and just flatness. Yeah, it's just wild.
And seeing, like, just literally going to a world that's so physically different from his own now, and like how big and grand and expansive.
Yep. And I think, again, like kind of going back to our earlier point, it was like it almost, again, it like you've changed, but so has everything else. Like you are now stepping into something completely unknown. Like, yeah, absolutely.
And you have to keep going. Yeah.
Yep.
It's very well done. And I just don't like the sword fighting.
Yeah, I agree. I like Saphira because he asks, how do the plains look? And she goes, dull. There's nothing but rabbits and scrub in every direction.
She's also like, I am a mountain dragon. What the hell is this? You take me to the plains?
Yep.
Ah, so good.
It's very good. But yeah, and then they sword fight, and then the chapter
ends.
Yep. I do. Eragon's just so upset with it. He threw down the stick in disgust and stalked away from the fire to nurse his injuries.
Yeah, fair.
Yep.
What is our writing takeaway for this chapter?
I think it would go back to like, I just kind of like maybe touching on to the training session, kind of what you were going with was like, if there is a moment of like training, and like you can like, this is just like our opinion on it. Like you can write it as harsh or as gentle or whatever you like.
Yeah.
But I think it is really important to include moments of actual training rather than having the teacher just beat down the student.
Yeah.
Like just make, so like, let me see if I can condense that. Just make your, what's the word? Teacher characters? Mentors. Thank you.
Yeah.
Make sure your mentors are, in training sessions are training.
Yes,
their
actually effective.
Like actually effective training, and no matter like, and again, like if it's like a little bit more harsh, and I think it should fit the character because Brom is a bit harsher.
Yeah, totally.
And it does fit his character, but again, like it how fast he came to Eragon was like, whoa, like it was a shocking moment. So I think I would do that one.
Yeah, for me, I think I like the use of landscape in this chapter is very good. We didn't talk about like when they get to Therinsford, they're like very judgy of how the city is like dirty.
Yeah.
And also Eragon doesn't like how it's laid out. Like things, he looks around, he can't even see the mill where Roran will be working.
Yeah, he's like, what a mess.
Yeah, what a mess. And the tower, the outpost, and then the plains, and just using those like physical spaces to like relay a little bit about like what Eragon is like used to, and like he's used to Carvajal, which is small but laid out and everything's tidy. He's a farm boy. Farms are laid out and they're supposed to be tidy and rows and things are effective. And then like also like this really grand important thing was so close and he had no idea, and how much that tells the reader about the world. Without saying it. And then Eragon seeing the plains for the first time and using that to like really cement this is leaving everything Eragon knows. Like, 'cause he even like had never been to Therinsford, but knew about it. So he knows about the mountains. He knows it. And now we are leaving all of that behind.
And I think, like, that's an interesting point, too, because that just dinged
Yeah.
in my head. Whereas he knew about Therinsford, but just outside of Therinsford, that's when he saw the crumbling tower.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, it's almost like his knowledge physically stopped at Therinsford.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just pushed a little past it. And it was like, you are now entering not just a new world, but the legacy of the Dragon Riders. And then a little bit after that, he steps into the new world. So I think that's almost like a double entry doorway kind of thing, where he's stepping into these things like very quickly. But it's I just realized how that went. I'm like, yes, that's a good use of scenery and landscaping and just like important landmarks. Thank you. So yes.
Yeah, I think those are good takeaways.
Yep, I agree.
You mentioned mentors. I want to shout out what our amazing listener, Curtis Moore. He reached out to tell us about one of his geodes, which is he got his first piece of fiction published in a zine. Very cool. It's called ghostwatch.us.
Ooh.
We will absolutely be sharing that, obviously, the story.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's very cool. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Curtis.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I said, speaking of mentors, Curtis also reached out, because in the last episode we called for favorite mentor characters.
Yes.
His favorite is Uncle Dap from the Once and Future King, because he cares so much about Lancelot. But he's so passionate about chivalry, and he's actually not much help once Lancelot becomes a knight. Definitely feel like the Once and Future King is something I need to read, because I have a soft spot for that Arthurian nonsense.
Yes, the Arthurian nonsense is very good. It's so good. Mm-hmm.
And then his least favorite is Red Dillon from When Legends Die. He teaches the main character a lot, but he's such a direct quote, he's also a dickweed with no real redeeming qualities. So it sounds like there's an inverse. It's like, we didn't really teach Lancelot a lot, but we love him. He's a great guy. And this guy, yes, he was helpful, but at what cost?
Absolutely. And
I like that. It seems like not like, the mentor was terrible. It's like, I just didn't like him as a guy.
Yeah.
I just didn't like him as a guy.
I mean, fair enough.
So, awesome. Listeners, obviously, we always want to hear. If you're listening, it's like, I had a thought, but that episode came out ages ago. I don't care.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. I mean, maybe remind us what episode it is. So
yeah, like, hey, I just finished writing X, or I just finished listening to X episode. Like,
yeah,
and
we're just like,
what
are you talking about? I don't remember this.
Yes.
But mostly, like, we want to hear from you. And as always, share your sparks of inspiration and your geodes with us.
Absolutely.
We want to hear about what inspires you. We want to hear about what people make. Like, that's so good.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the things that people make that inspire us.
Yes, it's inspiration. I think we mentioned that last time. Inspiration comes from all forms, so definitely feel free to share.
Yeah. And as always, you can hit us up. We are on Instagram at EragonPod.
Yep.
And until next time, she's Lucy Hart.
And she's Darien Smartt.
And this was Eragon.
And back again.